Martin Kagan, session 2 of basics of opening up the system. We started and we looked at the 4 regions, and we covered the PDF, which is once again right over there, and that opens up and we can have an index section. We've discussed the flat sheet, different basic models, the number of windows, and now we continue from that standpoint. So we'll go back to where we were. We'll do it as a three window phase, and we will choose, in this case, the HPI model one more time. Now we've got it into 3. You can see the same data, different perspective. And let's go back to the instruction sheet because we need to cover some other stuff. So these spark lines over here are the opening spark lines. These 3 dots spark points are the instruction code for each of the separate windows, which come up like this. And there's a lot of instructions with further drill downs covering further aspects. Each one has got one of those. They're all generic, except in certain instances, like the difference between the rows model and the hex or the basic model might have some changes. There's not too much to debate in terms of the data model, other than if you wanted to change it to data to a percentage format value here, you would change to perhaps percent of parent there automatically. You just saw change automatically as a percent of the parent, and we would bring up that, export that data and bring it back up to be able to get a better handle on that. So looking at the point in time in the manual where we are, we've covered these pages here. We're going to cover this index section here and the data grid, which are quite simple. So the spark lines here constitute that area. Over here is the data grid in greater definition. Actually, look at the data. This is the original data, not the one that I changed into percentage. And if we were to wish to export this for any purpose, we go like that. We select all points over there. We'd export it to an Excel and bring it back as an Excel, which you can do very easily, and see it over there as an Excel. And we could change the index, the metadata, or the physical data itself accordingly if you so wished. And then we re-import it, the procedure which I'll still indicate to yourselves. So there's that. We close that aspect, go back to the spark lines. We choose, in this case, the index structure, just to make sure everything is correctly indexed, and there we can see it. So that index correlates 1-to-1 with the structures that we look over here, the 9 elements, the 9 central elements going through the center of the circle in terms of the regions and what they represent. Our state. And obviously that is representative over there. And we've already covered the point of creating a dynamic interlink between them. A little bit of superfluous wordage here because we've covered this, but we'll get a little bit further now. Now we've got them at linked identity, and we're able to move through time in the different points and get a handle on what we're looking at. So the next area to cover is the rows model. And the rows model we handled as an independent concept. Here we've got it over the years 1975 to 2014. We're going to change some aspects. We've already changed that linked identity. How's about we change clarity? We don't change necessary camera position, but you could. Let's choose this metal because it gives us a nicer view on this. And let's change the color background a little bit to something that appeals to yourself. Now, let's look at some of the real aspects. So most of the defaults are set to what they should be. But you can change. We've discussed labels and the adding of labels, whichever labels you want to add to that description line. And then we talk about value. How do you want to see this model? In terms of numerical value per the data sheet, or do you want the aggregation, continuous aggregation of it, in which case we're going to see some of the value. But in order to see that, the way they will look at the data has to be by magnification purposes because we're not seeing it there. So we'll change it probably to parent level. And if that wasn't giving us sufficient, we go all the way down to node level, which means the actual state by itself. And this is a cumulative set of values, not the independent value by itself. So at a node level, it's looking just like this. And obviously, we drill down to each state by region. You can see the effect of that Pong coloration. You can see it right over there. And we might want Michigan as an indicator. You can see the expansion of the value and the property values crash in 2008 approximately. And we play that backwards in time. As I said, 2005, 2008 era. Play it backwards. Go to the region to look at what the region looked like relative to the state. We'll look at the holistic view of it. Once again, we can adjust because we had sum, so go to value. You can see the distinction in the coloration at this point in time. It's taken effect. And here we would choose what are we really looking at. We did say value, but now the control value, which is the denominator factor, how are we going to look at this data through a microscope? What level of magnification? Do we want it at parent level, super parent level? Here we have the top parent and parent. There isn't a top parent in this data set that would require 3 levels of uh, dimensionality. We haven't got that. So we've got obviously 3 dimensions, but the index itself would require 3 levels of dimensionality. It goes all the way to 10 levels of dimensionality. And we'll choose parent level for an optimization of view. So we've seen data relative to its parent, and we could take that and change that all the way to the node, and take the node and look at it through delta, change on change. And here we see an impressive array of data clearly indicating changes over the same time period and the sporadic nature of it vis-a-vis other sectors. So this could be used in a multitude of applications and is pretty good on that. So I think at this point we've done a good summary. Let's go back to the graph and see what we're the data sheet and see where we're at. We've covered that. Manipulating data and time, we've covered that portion. We saw me gliding over it, or specifically pinpointing it. And then we can go to the next layer as time allows. At this point in time, I think we check out and continue. That was section 2. Thank you.